Hi everyone, welcome to the very first video on how to make text effects with CSS, HTML, JavaScript, and all the other cool things on the web. I have my cup of tea ready and I'm hoping that I can go through and show this before my tea gets cold. I'll just have a sip because I feel like I'm not going to succeed at that. Get whatever drink, beverage, whatever you like ready, and let's dive in. Now the first text effect that we are going to focus on today is this gold text effect. This uses just HTML and CSS, no special techniques. It's primarily background gradients and text shadows. Now, if you want to just have a play with it, I have this website up at texteffects.dev/gold text, which you can go to and you can type whatever text you want in, like hello, and then you can take a screenshot or change the font size and it'll give you that text to play with. If articles are more your thing, I also have an article up on my website, texteffects.dev, and it goes through basically what we're going to go through today, but in written form. But if you want to enjoy listening to my Australian accent go through making this text effect for you, we're going to jump over into CodePen and get started. Now, when I first started making text effects, I used to Google Photoshop text effects, and then I would replicate the ones that I thought I was able to do. And this is one of those text effects. I came across this great article by Fabio Sasso. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his name, but I apologize if I got that wrong. Regardless, this is a great article on how to create this effect in Photoshop, and he basically goes through and explains how to do it. And what he does is the hard part for us, which is getting that gradient right in the CSS. So I kind of used it as inspiration, and I followed some of the colors that he had, like this one here, and use that within the CSS. So let's jump over and get started. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is make the H1, which is what I'm going to use for my text. I'm going to use the word jello because I always use jello in my text effects. And that'll create a first bit of text. But the thing is, for this text effect, we actually need two layers. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can do this. A really common way is using data attributes and the CSS content property. The problem with this is that screen readers are going to read that out multiple times. So anyone with accessibility requirements that's using a screen reader is going to have to listen to the word jello however many times that you've used the content property. So typically it's like 3. So we don't want to do that because that's super annoying. We don't want to hear jello, jello, jello all the time, right? I have an article that I've written about this, so I'll put that in the description so that you can have a read about it in more detail. But for the purposes of today, what we'll do is just nest a span inside, and we'll use the ARIA hidden attribute to make sure that the screen readers aren't going to read that text out, because we want to make sure that people using other technologies have a good experience as well. I'm also going to add a div just for some extra styling, because I want it to sit in the middle of the page. And that's it. That's all we need for the HTML. So we'll jump over into the CSS now. Now, the first thing I want to do is just set up some base stuff for setting up the background. Now in the tutorial, actually, he goes through and shows about making this. So it's kind of like a radial gradient. I'm going to use this color that he used, and I'm going to apply that within ours as well. So in order to do a radial gradient, we go radial background, radial gradient, and then it's ellipsis. Is it a comma? Comma? No, at center. And then it's a ellipsis because we want it to be in the center of the page. And then we can just paste that hex code that I copied from the Totally Amazing tutorial, and that'll be at 0%, so the starting point. And then we'll add black in, which was the other color, at 100%. And there we have it, Totally Amazing background. It's already looking amazing. If you're wondering where the text is, it's up the top here in black. So what we'll do first up, so you can see the text, is add a color, and we'll just make it white for now so that you can see it. That's not looking great, but let's go with it. So what we'll probably do is add in just a little bit of font styling. For the font family, I am going to use Playfair Display, which is available for free on Google. I'm going to use Times New Roman as a fallback, and then we'll just do serif on the rest of our font stack. I have already pre-added Playfair Display in from Google, but you can use whatever font that you like. It doesn't have to be this one. I would recommend a serif font that's kind of blocky and has sharp lines, because this effect works best with that kind of text, simply because of how it works. If you try it with other fonts, you'll see why it's maybe not the best with the rounded ones. So the next thing that we're going to do is make the text uppercase. You're probably wondering, why didn't you just do this in the HTML? I personally don't think you should uppercase text in HTML unless it's like an acronym or something. I have an article about this I'll link in the description, but I think it's because it's decorational, it should be in the CSS. So we'll just uppercase that text so that it looks a bit better. And let's add a font size in as well. 15 viewport width. I might do 18. And actually what we'll do is we'll add the calc in 0.5 rem. This just means that when users try to zoom in the browser, it's going to scale. There's some problems with the viewport width on font sizes if you don't do that. So this just makes it a bit more accessible. Cool. So this is better. What I'm going to do on that div that I added is just go display flex, align items, center, and justify content center. And I think what I'll do here is get rid of the margin on the heading because we don't need that. And we'll add a height to the div so that it stretches for the full page. Align items, align content. No, that was right. What am I doing? Justify content? That should work. Did I do it wrong? Let's have a look here. What's going on? Ah, no, that's right. Okay, cool. So it's because it's stacking on two lines. So the other thing we're going to do is text transform, not text transform, text align center. And I'm also, actually, I don't think I need to, we'll just add our span in. Cool. So that's going to center it in the middle of the page for us. You can add your font weights and all of that kind of stuff. Maybe I should font weight 400 to make it a bit narrower so it's not so chunky. And then we'll also add in a position of relative. Now, the reason that we're doing this is because we've nested the span inside the H1. We want to be able to position the span within that H1 relative to the positioning of the H1. So over in our span, we're going to go position absolute, and we're going to go left of 0. Which is looking a bit better. You see how it is aligned. Then what we're going to do is go top 0, just to make sure it's all perfectly aligned. So now we've got our two layers stacked on top of each other. So the next thing we're going to do is add in our gradient. So the way that we do this is with the background property. Now, how I picked... sorry, get my mouse here. How I picked the colors was essentially based on like screen grabbing from what they had in this tutorial. I'm going to put down the colors that I chose, but you can pick pretty much whatever colors that you want from the gradient that he's using, or whatever kind of gradient that you want to use. So I've got them written down on a post-it note, so I'm just going to copy them in. So for this, we actually want a linear gradient. And then we're going to go to bottom because it's going from top to bottom. And then the first hex value is CFC09F, and it'll be about 27%. Then we're going to put a comma in, and we'll add our next color in, which is FFECB3 at about 40. And then we'll go 3A2C0F at about 78%. Great. So now you can kind of see what the gradient looks like, but obviously this isn't quite what we want because the gradient is behind the text, not in the text. So this is where we add the background clip properties. So you can go background clip text, and that will clip the text to clip the background to the text, I should say. You can also add in WebKit background clip if you want it to work in older versions of the browsers. That'll do the same thing. But now what we want to do is get rid of that color of the text. Now you can go color transparent, but the problem with this is in older browsers where the property we're going to use isn't supported, it's going to be transparent text. So I like to leave the color as is, and instead I use WebKit text fill color, and then we go transparent. And now we've got our gradient in our text. And that's pretty much all you have to do for the H1. Then what we're going to do is jump over into our span, and we're going to add in a text shadow. And what that's going to do is sort of create some definition around the text itself. So I kind of just played with the colors until I got what I want. You can color pick from the Photoshop tutorial as well. But what we'll do is we'll add in our text shadow with our offsets. And the color I'm going to use is on my post-it note, C6 BB9F. So you can see it sort of added this sort of creamy brown color. And we'll do that again, but we'll offset it to the other side. 0, 1 pixel, 1 pixel, C6 BB9F. And that will create this kind of text shadow around the text. Now, obviously this is sitting on top, which we don't want. So we're going to add a Z index of -1 to have it sitting below the text. And you can kind of see that there is now this cool outline, which is giving it the definition and kind of making it look metallic-y. Now, the next thing that we're going to do in order to give it a little bit more definition is add a sort of blurry gradient in black. So I'm going to offset that by 5 pixels. 5 pixels, then we'll blur it by about 10, I think. Cool. So it kind of looks like that. 5 pixels. Maybe should we do 7? No. Maybe 4? Yeah, let's do that. And then we can go RGBA, and we'll go 0, 0, 0, maybe 0.6. Whoops. That's too dark. 0.4. That's better. Okay, cool. So that's kind of elevating it off the page a bit. We'll just do that again, but we'll offset it a little bit this time. So we go -4, -4, 10 pixels. So it's going the other way. So you can see that. And we'll do the same thing. We'll use the black, and we'll just copy that 0, 0, 0, 0.4. So that's kind of lifted it off the page, and it's given it that that depth. And that's it. Basically, we're done. No, it's pretty straightforward. Like, most of it is just that gradient, and you can kind of tweak this to any kind of gradient that you want. So for example, if we jump over here, I have one that is silver text. And this was made exactly the same way, except what I did was desaturate the colors and just made them silver instead of gold. So that's how you make gold CSS text using some very straightforward CSS properties available now in all major browsers. Don't have to worry about support. It's really, really good. Even though we're using a browser prefix for these two things, they're actually very well supported, and they have been since about 2018. So I hope you enjoyed. Please go and make text effects, and if there's a text effects that you would like to see made, comment below, and I'll see if I can make it for you. Thanks, bye. Enjoy. Ooh, is my tea cold? Should I check? Not bad. Little bit cold. 15 minutes. Not too bad. Thanks. Bye.